You're listening to Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official podcast of Lingerie Fighting Championships. And now, here's your host, Michael Larkin.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me today, folks, we have a lot of guests on the show from LFC personnel, fighters, prospects, a lot of amazing fans, and especially a lot of amazing doggone models here. And I have one just for you right now. We got the one and only Miss Jade Marie. How are you, Jade?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
You are so welcome. First and foremost, guys, for those who have not checked out Jade, you do a lot of great work on the modeling front, really exuding and accentuating that internal and external beauty while also showcasing that beauty, strength, and dominance. So let's start right there. For you, the modeling field, it's kind of like a hand in glove. We see a lot of your beautiful imagery, and we'll talk about your shoots here. But for you, what kind of gravitated you towards the modeling field?
Um, so I have the classic story. An ex-boyfriend got me into it. And I always hear if I had a nickel for every time I heard that. But yeah, I'm actually from England, so I have a slightly more unique look. I have a bit more accentuated European features, primarily like my nose. And that was the first thing that grew on my face. And so that was a rough time. So I did not like my picture taken actually almost my entire life. And then I don't know. I mean, he convinced me to just take a couple photos just for fun, because he was practicing doing photography for fun. And I actually really loved how the photos came out. And that was pretty much that. It like really like I don't want to say cured, but like it really helped me progress in like that, body dysmorphia aspect of like, hating that about myself. So that's how it started. And it's 8 years now as of this year.
Well, first of all, God bless, and on that anniversary coming up of yours, absolutely, ma'am. 8 years.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. That's a long time to be getting into modeling. And I mean, I look at it from a stance too as well. There's always something about us, whether it be a body part, what have you, that we're kind of little about. I remember as a kid, I was not a fan of taking my picture either. So I get it. You get the old E picture with the smile, just E. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You look like
And I
mini.
had horrible teeth. I had terrible British teeth. So I was very fortunate to have parents that cared enough to try and get my teeth fixed. So it was an ugly duckling like long time. But I like to think I kind of grew out of it. But I think I just grew more into just myself as a person. I don't feel like I had like a glow up or anything per se. I think I just grew into myself.
Hey, I'm gonna say this. I think with a lot of us as kids and as we get into adulthood, puberty kicks a lot of ours asses. And I mean, I look at it from a stance too as well. It's an awkward phase. But I think as we were as people, like you talk about, there's many different layers of how we view beauty and how we really view a lot of people from an imagery standpoint and just in general. I think that overall spark, that spirit and everything that really encompasses one's being, like for yourself, I gotta say the confidence really exudes and accentuates within your photos. I think a lot of people take away like the fun, the aspect, the ambiance, if you will. I think that really
Mhm.
goes right into the work of art that is a photo, right?
Yeah, definitely. Um, I think there's just a lot that you can do with modeling in general. It did definitely it's changed for me as time gone has gone on. It's definitely shifted to much more of an artistic outlet as well. So it's really cool just to have that. And I also don't like overanalyze like how I look in my photos either. And I think that's helped me like not get in my head and how I've been able to like do it this long. Um, because like there's like a psychology study that says if you saw yourself on the street, you would not recognize yourself because you don't see what other people see. What you see in a mirror is different than how someone else objectively views you. So anytime anyone's ever made comments about, me or how I look or anything, I'm just like, thanks, but like I don't over like analyze it or like really like cling to it because that's what you see, but I just see me. So
I think as the old saying goes, all we can be is us, all we can be is me. And I think a lot
yeah.
Right? It's like the old Whitney Houston, I just want to be me, for God's sake. So I mean,
Yes.
so I think a lot of people can take that away. And I mean, with today's generation, many girls that are getting into modeling now, what we get to see now, I mean, we have so many more social media aspects, from the Instagrams, the Twitters, the TikToks, the Snapchats, what have you, than what we used to have back in the day. So, I mean, we all have more technological aspects from our fingertips, so to speak. And I mean, there's so many great magazines, which I got to put over here. I saw your stuff for Babe Watch. I saw your stuff for a lot of great, Vigor Magazine and Blaze Magazine. I think for you, beautiful cover art, man. And I'm so happy to see you on the cover of those magazines. It really came out very
Oh,
nice.
thank you. Yeah, it's always exciting getting a cover. It's one of those things, there's a benefit and like no real benefit in the same respect. It's nice to have, it's validating, but it's not something that I feel like is so unobtainable to, the general community that it doesn't make anyone better than anybody else. And that's something that I think is kind of cool, actually, about how the industry has shifted a little bit. Like we hear about Mag Cloud, like magazines, all the ones you mentioned that are based off there. What do they really do? They have a large following, but it's not like they're a print magazine in stands. But it's still validating when you get selected for something, when hundreds or, there's been thousands of submissions different times. And if you still get picked, it's still like, okay, this is someone that sees all this art and they still felt that mine was stand out enough. And I think that's what's pretty cool. Whether I get on the cover or not, it's just nice to be picked. But I think then, yeah, of course, being on the cover has that added edge of excitement every time.
I think what's great about it too is, so I'm a 90s kid. So when you grow up in the world of modeling, like the earliest ones I remember are, you look at women like Naomi Campbell, you look at, Keep It in the Closet, the Michael Jackson video.
Heidi Klum.
Yep. Tyra Banks, for God's sake. Like, come on now. Like, and I mean,
Yep.
it's so interesting from that standpoint, just because of, like, we talk about the evolution of modeling. Like, look at plus size modeling. We've seen modeling into plus size modeling, women of different shapes and sizes. So I wanted to ask you, because being the veteran that you are, 8 years, doggone man, I got to ask you, you've seen a lot of people come, you see a lot of people go. What do you think about that evolution that we've had from modeling to plus size modeling, and really exuding, accentuating all different shapes and sizes that we see nowadays?
I think it's awesome. I'm a big one to point out, even Marilyn Monroe, she was the symbol of sex and femininity and what it meant to be a woman. And she was a size 16, but no one wants to talk about that. And a lot of times if she's like drawn or depicted in someone else's interpretation, she's always super thin hourglass, but that's not how she was. And I do really like how accepting it's been, because there are so many great people that have, such an amazing artistic skill or vision that they bring and can contribute to shoots, that before they would have been like, no, I'll never make it. Like, it's not my place, but now that you see so much, because I think we are creating more of an accepting environment. I would like to think it's giving more confidence to those people to go out and give it a shot. And I think that's why we've seen more, because more people are getting that confidence to try it. When Heroin Chic was big, no one, anyone over, I think, a size 6 at any given time was like considered big. So I personally really like it. I wish I had more curves than I do. So I'm a fan of curves. That's me. But I know there are some people that still don't think that way. Like even, Karl Lagerfeld, may he rest in peace, but he was extremely transphobic, fat phobic, homophobic, it's all of it. And I think he made a comment like fat people don't deserve fashionable clothes or something like that. And I'm glad that we're getting away from the mindset, or at least those people that are trying to keep those mindsets alive are phasing out in one way or another.
Right. And I mean, I look at it from a stance too as well. You also transfer, and people look at OnlyFans, for example, like, people have made a lot of lucrative money for that. I'm like, you do realize it's not just posting nude photos. There's a community in here. There's something for everybody as far as preference.
There's an etiquette, a dynamic, an expectation. I have an OnlyFans. It's foot focused, just because that's just very popular for me. And then I have a Patreon, which is everything that's, you know, feet is on there too, but it's just everything, all of my work. But that is just feet. But the thing with OnlyFans is, you know, it's so much more than like, yeah, like you said, the biggest part of it is like direct messaging and conversation and building rapport with each individual subscriber. And even me myself, like I, you know, subscribed to a fellow dominatrix profile one time just to talk to her. I was just intrigued of who she was and how she got to the level of upscale dominatrix that she is now. And it was a bot talking to me, or like an assistant, and it was asking like that's irritating as a consumer. So you have people that, yes, while they may be very successful on there, some people take that time to build that rapport in community, some people don't. And it's obvious it's interpreted and received as such in those scenarios. Because obviously I felt some type of way. And I even had someone that nastily messaged me because it ended up taking me like over a month to make some kind of video that they requested. And I ended up having like a lot of like just things go on in my personal life that were unforeseen. And he called me out saying that I was lying about what was going on because I wasn't posting about it on social media.
Oh.
And I've never once, you know, if OnlyFans was like my full-time job or even my part-time job, like that, it had a substantial take on my life, that's one thing. But when it's, you know, it's not your full-time job, it's not your primary focus, you know, it's the entitlement and expectation is completely different. So then of course that, you know, I see at where that irritation or like that bad side of that community can kind of come from, but it is definitely different. It's so interesting how the industry has changed. And you know, even in various model safety groups, like there was a blog post that was shared, and it was how models are changing the industry, that we are no longer slaves to agencies and shooting for prints to take in a physical portfolio to take with us and hand in. You don't do any of that anymore. So TFP is technically non-existent now. And just so many, so many changes. I am so sorry. Please forgive me. I was afraid that I would do something again and go off again. But yeah, just I think there's something to be said about the growth and change of the industry when you have these other kinds of platforms. And then of course, you know, that even opens up a totally separate conversation of like Instagram models, OnlyFans models, but may not go out on actual photo shoots. So then how are they considered a model? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a lot of gray area these days with everything.
There absolutely is. And I mean, well, first of all, everything's going to social media. If you don't put somebody on blast, everything is social media oriented and based now. It's one of those things that's just so interesting to me, because when we talk about people making it from Instagram, Twitter, what have you, OnlyFans, that's the means of everything right now. And sometimes you often wonder, like, how do we ever survive without all this social media stuff? But again, it's the name of the game. It's where we are now, especially TikTok has become the full focus for videos and content. So there's always something to be created from that front. There's pros, there's cons, but that's just the world that we're living in today.
Yep. TikTok is, I think, I have a TikTok.
Okay.
I don't really post to it. I tried it like a smidge and like was not really into it. Couldn't really figure it out. Oh goodness. I just think it's a misleading app. I feel like it does not do a sufficient job or a good job of giving a real depiction of pretty much anything that goes on there. And that's everything from, you know, all kinds of careers, you know, to girls that are, you know, exotic dancers, or girls that are on OnlyFans, or girls that are models in whatever capacity they consider to be a model, because some have other criteria than others of what it means to be a model. And so I think that's something to be said about where things will be going. And it's like I don't even know where to take that, because there's so many different places I could take.
No, you're right. I'm right there with you as far as I'm right there with you as far as the passionate about this stuff, because there
Yeah.
is so many layers to everything. And what really crazes me about this, and what really kind of grinds my gears, so to speak, to quote Family Guy here, there's so much stuff that's out there. And I mean, the way I put it is that like people, it goes in many different ways in different directions. But I think also at the same time, I think with how models and everything has been portrayed now, and I think there's a lot of beautiful women out there, but there's still so much stuff out there that we're so inclined to the social media. And I'll go back to what you were saying about magazines here. The reason why I put that out there is like when I was a kid, I was a wrestling fan. I had wrestling magazines. When I was a kid, pop culture, J14 magazines. I think just the beauty of a magazine and just everything that encompasses. And I mean, you yourself, you're rocking it out with the tats, that internal, external beauty, you got that edge. You're rocking it out like a lot of women do. I look at it from a stance too as well. You look at the cover of like an inked magazine, right? Beautiful women showcasing that artistic vibe, looking like an illustrated woman, if you will. Like stuff like that. There's so much stuff that's appealing out there that we really get to see. And I just think the art of magazine covers are kind of lost now with how we see certain models on said social media platforms.
Yes, I agree with that 1,000%. Like TikTok is like creating false expectations because you're only seeing the good side of it. And what they're also showing is, what do we know? Sex sells. So everything is sexualized now. And that is where we're taking everything. So yes, I completely agree. I feel like a lot of the artistic drive and input and requirements of what it takes to be on a cover or even featured is not what it used to be anymore. The expectations, I feel like, have absolutely dropped with the creation and expansion of the communities on these various platforms, especially from what people are capable of doing from a self-shot aspect, which is amazing. Kudos to those people, but it has changed the game for sure.
I mean, and I look at it from a stance too as well. Like we talk about this, and I'm going to say this right now, folks. If you've not checked out Jade on Instagram, we talk about tattoos and just the overall stuff, your support of cannabis and everything that's encompassed in your shoots as well, which is awesome. So it's an extension of yourself while also showcasing that beautiful imagery. I think that's a great look, and I got to give you kudos to that as well because you rep your brand very well.
Thank you. I try. I like to maintain a certain amount of etiquette, I guess I could say, in terms of like what I post and even like what I shoot. I won't shoot overly risque content. I have no issue with anyone that shoots that stuff, but that's just something for me. And I think how I can maintain a little bit more of my artistic input, because then that's the focus isn't just that. And yeah, you just see so much coming from these, new people, and it's great, but it has to essentially require the industry to reevaluate all aspects of it. And I think that a lot of like different, brands, corporations, businesses, companies are too conservative in a regard, because like I have medical issues that I have my medical marijuana card for. I don't make it my primary focus on my page. But I do talk about it. I will talk about what products I use, what I like, even CBD, I use that for daytime during like flare-ups when I'm really, really exhausted. And I don't think that a lot of platforms, companies take that into account. And I don't think I should be shamed for that. And so I've had companies that have not worked with me, and that's fine. But then that means we are not meant to be a team. Like we're just not the fit, and that's okay, because there are so many other brands that do support me and have no issue with that. I've had, people not want to work with me because of my tattoos. And again, I think even with the introduction of all these other apps, it's made more people come to light that can pursue this. And then, people can afford to be more picky now with the increase of models, clientele available. So I don't know. I just try to be me. If you like it, you do. And if you don't, you don't.
No.
But the brands that I work with, are all very receptive to it. I do everything from like cannabis products and accessories, from the recreational to the medicinal side, because I do know some chemistry aspects. I've been fortunate enough to learn a lot from doing this. I'm, open about my tattoos. I'm very holistic, spiritual. I just try to represent my most authentic self, I guess.
think that's what's great about your bio that really is intriguing and really is engaging as well. I got to put that out there because, god dang, man, first of all, much support to that for what you're doing with your cannabis stuff and what you believe in and really talking about that. No, it's really true because I think a lot of people need to be more open and honest to that, expand your horizons, if you will. And I also look at it from a stance too, as well, the spiritual side of things. I'm a big believer and that God has a plan for all of us, and we're all here just applying our crafts and applying that art form as we are. And I look at it from a stance too as well. On the other side of things, badass tattoos go a long way. The body is the canvas, the body is the temple. And for me, like one of my favorite pieces that I have on my arm is a dedication to my grandfather who passed away when I was 9 years old. So I knew once I was around 18, 19, when I got the tat, I wanted to do something in his honor as I got older. And for you as well, there's a lot of badassery that goes into. We talk about the edgy side of things, but also it's very sensual. And I'll use the two E's here. It's very eloquent. It's very elegant, and how you portray yourself in a photo and just the overall style and ambiance around it.
I very much appreciate that because I particular, especially when it comes to more like fetish geared photos, and even like latex fashion, various, BDSM concepts, whatever. I like to call it like fine art fetish because we all have seen, you can shoot the same thing two different ways. It can be shot very nicely and, like you said, elegant. And then there's the like more raunchier way. And like I don't like that because it just doesn't exude the energy in the same way, in my opinion. So I really appreciate that because I really strive for that. So thank you.
Oh, you were so welcome. It's the vibes, man. And I mean, I think it goes a long way with everything, but also at the same time, too, as well. Like you talk about your BDSM here, and I'll make a pop culture reference here. I've used this every time. So what I love about it is we look at how pop culture really kind of equates to what we see in everyday life and what we absorb and take in as people. Like you look at True Life back in the day with MTV, early True Life.
Oh, yes.
You know where I'm going to go with this. True Life, I'm a dominatrix. Showcase that submissive side. Hey, give me a little ball and gag type of deal. So the dominatrix, the submissive, or the one who's very dominant, as it is. I mean, it's very interesting to learn about that lifestyle, and you get to see what a lot of people are very unique in their preferences and what they like, because it opens up more minds, more realms, but it really just gets to exude and accentuate what the person's all about and what they're into. So you get to really explore that particular avenue.
Yeah, I love being a pro dom. Yeah, I'm a pro dom. I think I mentioned that in messaging,
Yep.
but just put it out there now. I love BDSM. I love the way that society is shifting and its perspective of it. I think that it's still very taboo. It is, but we have very much grown and progressed through the acceptance of kink, and it's becoming so much more common to engage in dominatrix or male dom services, because again it's there's so many times that it's not even sexually driven. It can just be like the appreciation and just wanting to feel loved and protected and secured, and it's so healing and therapeutic. There are a lot of people that develop very specific fetishes as coping mechanisms from trauma. And I think, those are aspects that do not get discussed nearly enough. And I think if that was much more discussed on an open scale in society, I think the association and the tone to it would shift as well. And I think we're taking steps there, but we're not quite there. And, like even me, like every dom, per se has their own style. Like I always say I'm a sensory dom. So I do a lot of sensory play as far as like different sensations on the skin, blindfolding, just various things like that. And I notice personally with my techniques and my just general practice, it's a very mind body experience, just the way you see the body react to different things. And that's when I think I notice that the person is like they're most enveloped in what's going on and like just feeling their most eclectic and just their best at that moment. And it's just, I wish more people got to experience that, but I think it's just too many people are embarrassed or don't want to feel judged, don't know where to go. And then you have the people that are, get upset when it comes to discussion of tribute. which comes in, various forms, typically monetary or gifts, things like that. And, people say, well, why should I pay you? I could just find someone on Tinder to do this to me for free. And it's like, that's fine. You are super welcome to, but some of the things that are done can cause bodily harm, could potentially kill you.
Right.
Especially with like breath play. So if you don't go to someone who doesn't know what they're doing, you're putting yourself in a very risky situation. Like I trained from, a male first, and I have an ongoing female mentor. So anytime I have a question or need any kind of guidance, I have someone who's been in the game, far longer than I have, and has such an intense experience and training from dungeons in London. She's one of those most incredible people that has, it's just similar to me, and as you said, just how you let that person, really be who they truly are and feel that moment for everything that it is, and like being their most authentic self. And it's very fulfilling. It's super rewarding. And especially just seeing growth in people as they get more comfortable in themselves, you see a change in their confidence and just their, feeling secure in themselves.
I mean, what's great about it too is as well, and I'll add on to your great point here. It's a point of like everything is an art form. I mean, people say what they will about it. People judge, people shame, what have you. There's always that element of the perception is you're a freak. When a lot of people talk about the overall let your freak flag fly, if you will. But look at it from a stance too as well. If you really analyze, dissect, and decipher everything around you, everything in life is an art form, from the skill that goes to be in the pro dom and whatnot. I think the overall objectory here is like, if it's your passion, if it's your craft, whatever, you do what you do. If you like what you like, enjoy it. And I think a lot of people don't really enjoy what we get to see in life, not even the little subtleties, intricacies, or nuances, even something that's so minimal. We're always into like, you know what I'm saying? We're always judging. We're always a little bit apprehensive, but get off that line.
Always having that like,
Yep.
that afterthought or that.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if it doesn't affect you, has nothing to do with your life. But and I think that's something that's like almost become like an innate character trait, sadly, is like judgment. And I don't know. I think I tried to really just not be that way. I don't know. I just think that everyone's dealing with something, and the projection. And I think a lot of times actually judgments are coming from those people's own insecurities. A lot of people that judge, BDSM and sessions themselves are probably the people that would benefit from it the most.
Right. And this also equates to, folks, as you see this show, it is LFC, Lingerie Fighting Championships, a little bit of MMA, a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of clothing. The way I always put it like this is, if you kind of equate to like what LFC does with LFL, we have the Lingerie Football League. It's badass women playing football, but looking good while doing it as well. So, I mean, a lot of people always judge, and I equate this to it, like the sex appeal, the lingerie. People see that L word, and I'm not talking about shape with an L on your forehead like we're Smash Mouth up in here. I'm talking I'm talking about the word. I'm talking about the word lingerie here. So I look at it from a stance too as well. There's so many different aspects that people can take away from the sex appeal. Also the empowerment. And like we talk about body positivity, another word I'll add here, the body confidence of showcasing yourself and putting yourself into that forefront. So there's a lot of variables that people don't see about LFC, because that overall word, that definitive word, that being lingerie, people just tend to, kind of like be very blasé and passé about it. So I think what we're doing here as a product really showcases, and especially with women like yourself over here, and we'll get into lingerie on your side here in a second, Miss Jade Marie, because you're banging it all around with these photos. So I got to put this into your perspective here, man. It's great to see a company like a Lingerie Fighting Championship showcasing that sex appeal in many different layers that encompass a woman, but also at the same time really empowering and showcasing uplifting confidence all at the same time under a combative nature.
Yes. I have been told like it's kind of interesting to see me in all the different kinds of outfits I do, because it doesn't match because I have so many different aspects of my personality. So I do like to, show that through my work. So sometimes I do just want some pretty lingerie pictures. Then I just want to stand there and feel pretty, and that's okay. That's the nice part about being able to take different aspects of yourself and make that the focal point. And I think that's one of the things like I'm most excited about with LFC is like I do already wrestle, but not like on any kind of like crazy scale. But I have that natural like dominance and aggression that I think is a really good drive for me.
I think a lot of people enjoy that. I mean, there's always that intensity, and I'll use a comedy here. Look at Scary Movie, Marlon Wayans, and everything. And the reason I put that out here is because look at like when he's, where they're rapping in the garage. He's talking about a smash and bash and put a hole in your ass to do that type of fun. So you have that intensity encompassed in that rap, but also the intensity of, hey, I'm a woman, I'm sexy, let me fight lingerie. The wrestling technique goes a long way. There's fitness that goes into it. There's working out, really mind, body, and soul, being a spiritualist like you are. You know what I'm talking about. So there's so many things to really get in tuned about and really apply your craft and really expand on that. So I hope to see an LFC, I will say, in the future, man, to get that wrestling ability, look good while you're at it. And the follow-up question I got to ask you here is, you're welcome, but the follow-up question I got to ask, man, lingerie, we see it in your photos. We see it in many different genres and really everything that's incorporated with your photos. What's some of your favorite lingerie as far as just wearing it? I mean, there's so many different leather and lace. There's so many different styles that we've even seen on LFC. What's some of your favorite lingerie here, Miss Jade?
So my all-time favorite brand is Honey Burdette. That's a given. I probably have about a dozen sets from them. I am really adamant about not looking like everybody else. I do not want to wear the same like cheap looking sets off of Shein that everybody has. No disrespect to the girls that wear them. I think you look great, but if I see everyone else wearing the same things, I'm not going to be inclined to wear it. I want to look different. And I've had people tell me, you always have like the coolest outfits, and, I may not be able to expand my wardrobe so consistently, so quickly, but what I do add then, I've invested in, and it's something that no one else has, or, I try to make it something that not everybody has. And I really love lingerie. I'll do art nude photography, but I don't do glamour nudes or any like Playboy style nude. And part of that is from that perspective, feel better in lingerie than I do nude, because I feel like lingerie is meant to like make you feel sexier, enhance your body, enhance how you feel. It's no different than, when we dye our hair and put lash extensions on, or if guys, are going and working out crazy because they want to get big. It's a change in the physique, how they feel, about themselves. And this is something that is, far less invasive and takes way less time to get that same satisfaction. So I love lingerie. I'm a big fan of like 3-piece sets, but I do like leather and I love latex. I have some custom latex lingerie. I have a set that I designed the top myself. So that was pretty cool. And I love corsets. I do really like corsets, just not as much versatility with them. So it really depends on what the environment and like tone of the image is. But I think in general, I really love 3-piece sets for bra, panty, garter, and things with like chains as accents, like hardware. I'm a big fan of like gold hardware.
I like your style. I think we've actually seen a couple of girls where they had like a very goth style look with the chains on it. One Vita Von Star was a pro wrestler that did LFC. There's so many great styles, and I love that you mentioned that too, because I look at it from a stance too as well. Like we talk about that goth style. Like I've seen your stuff on Halloween, man. The photo that you took is very beautiful imagery on your Instagram. It reminds me of something like out of The Nightmare Before Christmas meets Evanescence. Bring me to life. I'm going under. Everybody's full. Hello.
With the tub outside and the lantern.
Right. Yep.
Yes. And that's what I was kind of going for, was I didn't want to do like, because I had already seen bathtub with pumpkins everywhere, but I wanted like a foggy, but didn't want a graveyard, but I still wanted it creepy. But still wanted it like, sophisticated upscale goth with like the, the long sheer robe and stuff. So yeah, I think it's really fun how you like the styles of it now have really broadened to just fit so many styles and ranges to fit whatever mood or, like I said, tone that you're going for.
It's kind of like, and I'm going to say this right now, I mentioned Evanescence there. I mean, picture the snow and picture the lake. It's like the Lithium video, but just more like...
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right? See?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, I do. My sister's a huge Evanescence fan growing up, so...
And it's good, man.
Still is, but
Yes, and here's the thing, man. Like around that time period, just to go for pop culture a second here, like that. First of all, that debut album with hits like "Bring Me to Life" and just "Going Under" and "My Immortal,"
mhm.
everybody's fool. And then she did that song with the dude from Seether she was dating at that time, "Broken" for the Punisher soundtrack. Oh my goodness, take me back.
Yeah, yeah.
But I digress. I look at
Yeah.
it from a stance too as well. Like what I also do enjoy as well. You have that like little EDC kind of like that little
I'm
like
a rave bitch. I
we
am
got
a
to bring this
rave
up.
bitch.
We got to bring this up because the rave style, I dig it. I like it. I thought that was a nice little setup there. I had to put that over. I liked it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I love EDM music. One of my favorite things about going is like and maybe it's more of a spiritual driven thing, but like sound and vibration therapy, like I'm into that. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I connect with that, because the way you feel after, it's just like your body is like light as a feather, every chakra is cleared out.
Mhm.
But I think it's the community and the environment that's created. Everyone is just so amazing. And like, I don't have interest in going like to bars and clubs anymore. I would rather save and just go to like, a few shows or festivals a year, because like, I remember the last time I went out, to like a bar was the night before Thanksgiving. And that's like the biggest night of the year for going out. And I've gone out on that night, like every year for like the last like 6 probably years. And this was the first time that I just was like standing there in my trench coat, my hands in my pockets, and I was a wallflower, like, okay, this kind of sucks. And I got two dudes over there talking to each other, looking at me and talking to them and looking at me. And then I have some girls next to them looking at them and looking at me and giving me a dirty look and looking at them. And it just wasn't the vibe. It was not the energy. And I was like, I'm so over this. So I ended up leaving. And I was just lucky at the time I was temporarily staying in the city. So I was able to just like dip out and walk home and be home in like 20 minutes, not even. Um, but yeah, I love EDM music. I'm a big rave fan. It's been awesome getting to start being more involved as an influencer in the rave community, doing some outfits, some accessories. Actually just found a new rave brand that's like a new, like pretty new shop. And so hopefully they might be styling me for Elements Art Fest. And even like one of my 420 sponsors, Blazy Susan, like I'm gonna take some stuff and do like a Blazy Susan pink themed look for the day and be like, Blazy Susan comes to Elements. And I just think it's cool, how so many of those communities kind of interject into each other. And I don't know, I think it comes very natural to me. I really like the music, I like the people, I like the aesthetic. And I've just met so many amazing people and just felt so much love that I just have no interest in spending my time, in the like environments that don't support that otherwise.
Right. And I think I've always said this about raves, and I get it as a 90s kid, very popular in the 90s and still to this
Mhm.
day. What I've always respected as something that you brought up that's very operative here. So, folks, for those who don't want to go to a bar and you don't want to drink, you don't want to get drunk, what have you, I think what I respect about the rave is just because not only is it loud, but you can dance to the music, but it's a good time. It's a party. You don't have to drink. You could just like, dare I say, freak out, just go out and just go balls to the walls with it, right?
Yeah, and it's really nice because a lot of people that go to raves, like they don't drink. They're not drinkers. So it's not like, or some of them are so, a lot of people that I have met at raves are sober actually, or like recovered. And it's just amazing. They say, I can't go other places because the people in the environment don't support me and my progress and my growth, but I am supported here. Are there people, offering joints and stuff? Absolutely. But some, that's totally different because some people are recovered but have medical marijuana cards. Everyone's situation's different. So it's cool that like everyone's just so open to like looking out for each other. And if you see someone like down on the ground, you always see someone go up and give them a water bottle and fan them. Like, can I get you anything? Do you need a medical aid? Like, can I help you? And it's just really great. It's just such a different environment. And even like, party favors for raves, you don't have to do that either. Can you do it? Absolutely. But no one ever like shits on you. I feel like at the bar, if you went this, it's a lot of times like that peer pressure. There's so much peer pressure in bar and club settings. So there's like, oh, one more drink, one more shot. And that can be what sends you over the edge. Like, I've never experienced that at a rave. You say no, and they're like, okay, if you change your mind, or if your friend wants it or whatever. And
Right.
that's like, yeah, people don't push. They're so much more respectful. I think that's the key word, is respectful.
I mean, you have to be. And we talk about peer pressure. And here's the thing that even still exists to this day with
Oh
just,
God, yeah.
right, with just not just as we're going through school, but adulthood. And it's just like, man, I don't want to drink. I don't want to have a drink. If you want to do it, go have some fun. Maybe I don't want to do that. And what I like about you talk about respect is key in anything, not just to what your preference is as far as drinking and what have you and how you live your lifestyle, but you have to be respectful among others. And I think that's also kind of a lackadaisical thing now because hardly anybody does it
Yes.
because we're so quick to do this instead of this. It's united, not divided.
Mhm.
Right?
Yes. And I think sometimes people have good intentions. Like, they want they want to hype you up, or they
Right.
want you to have fun. But with that, we tend to forget what other people's limits are, or what their comfortabilities are. And I have seen it so many times where, oh, let's take one last shot. And the last shot, like, sends someone over the edge, and then they're throwing up, or they're passed out, or whatever. And, you know, I just appreciate that there's, like you said, it's respect for other people's lifestyles without, feeling like you need to impose or push or encourage what they're doing in that moment in any regard.
Absolutely. And I think that's key in anything that we do in life is respect is very much key, and accommodation and comfortability is also a very prominent role that we see in today's society that needs to be continued and as well as adhered to. And I think going forward, folks, I think if you've not checked out first Jade Marie over here doing your thing, doing all these covers, being that rave bitch that you are, showcasing your tats, showcasing the cannabis, you are very much stuck to what you believe in. And I love it and I respect it. And you just have such a great energy. And I can't put that over anymore.
Thank you. Yeah, like, I don't know. I think you get back what you give out. And I remember I even had a psychic session that was gifted to me for Christmas. And I remember I was allowed to ask like 3 questions. My last question was, I said, I feel like I've been going through a really like hard phase of so much introspection where I was questioning absolutely everything, questioning what it meant to be a good person. And when you were doing things with good intentions, were you even still being a good person, or implementing what you felt was the right thing to be good? And I was so in my head, and she said, you're on the right path. Just keep doing what you're doing. And that was pretty much it. Like, I just think I just needed to hear that. Like, yes, you're questioning everything, but it's because you're continuing that positive growth. And we should feel like we can question things. And it's almost like, people feel like you can't question things now, especially like the way like society, like, you go to, graduate high school, go to college, find someone, get married, get a dog, house and kids. And like, that's it. And like, I don't know, like, that's not a fulfilling life, in my opinion. And I support everybody else who finds fulfillment in that. But just because that's what is the typical or society built, like, typical life, doesn't mean it's the only option or what's right.
I love you for saying that, and here's why. And we got to put this out here, folks, because what she just stated is 100% facts, number one. But number two, we are so accustomed to go to college, get a job, family, bada bing, bada boom, happy home, happy life. But here's the thing. I graduated high school about 13 years ago now, right? So 2010. My
Mm-hmm.
immediate thing was everybody was going to college. I wanted to go and work. So I went into the market research field. Then I started podcasting 5 years later. And now here I am still podcasting, still working in market research. What you're doing, what I mean by that is like everybody has a different way of going about their journey. And this is where we'll get spiritual here. Everything in life, no matter where it is, the journey is worth taking. And I think the way I look at it is like God wakes me up every day. You know what I'm saying? Even the days that we don't want to get up. I think that's a plus for each and every one of us, just to really appreciate the fact that we're up, we're looking to go out and do some stuff, and we have our health. So I think it's the appreciation of our faith, but also the appreciation of the destination that we're looking to get to, and also the journey and everything along the way. I think that's what makes life special and people's stories special. So I think that's an overall art in itself for what we get to see as the overall beings.
And I love that. I want to snowball that with just how much people tend to grow and Damn it. See, I lost my train of thought. So, yeah, you said so many great things, darn it. So just like you said, having appreciation for the destination and the person as a whole, I think people forget to appreciate themselves and have grace with themselves in that journey. And that's one of the things that I actually do for, clients that come see me. Is one of my homework assignments is I want, 3 or 5 things that you love about yourself. I don't want surface level anything. I don't care about your hair or your pecs or your eyes or great teeth. The one example I say is like your hands. Like one of my biggest pride and joy, he's a tattoo artist, and he has had so much exponential growth in the time that he's come to see me. And I think having that appreciation for who us as people going through that journey and everything that comes with it, because it's not a linear path. It is filled with ups and downs, and like having that grace with yourself, but remembering to appreciate who you are. And like you said, waking up, having things you want to go do, pursue, still having grace and patience with yourself. Because I think we get so caught up in comparing ourselves to the people that are doing, the society stated lifestyle. I did the same thing. I did not go to college right away. I started working, and it was from working that I started to figure out where I wanted to go. And then I ended up going to like community college to at least start my gen eds. And I ended up going in nursing school, and I never thought I would be there. And now, granted, I did not finish, and I don't know what happened. I can't do like blood and open bodies anymore. And I only ever wanted to be an OR nurse. I had absolutely no interest in anything else. But now I've ended up as like a receptionist, but like I do a lot more than just like more basic reception work. And I've, been a part of these, meetings within the organization where I'm meeting with, the board of administrators, and, there was the CFO and, the highest of the high, but I was the lowest level person to be there. And I loved being there and feeling like I was contributing something and doing something. And with that, I continued and shifted my course for, I ended up completing, a degree for general health studies. And then I was almost complete with healthcare management, and then would have had an associate's in marketing, but COVID messed everything up. And then at that point, though, what I wanted to initially do from a marketing perspective, like my goals from a personal place shifted, and that, correlated to my career. But now, I'm still at my same practice, but I feel so fulfilled in the patients that, have given me handwritten cards of just, coming and thanking me. I had a patient's wife today that, she wanted to just make a point to meet me because she's like, my husband's talked about you and how helpful you've been and XYZ, the last, 2-3 weeks. And I just, he just speaks so highly of you, and I just wanted to meet you. And I was like, well, just things like that, make you feel so fulfilled. And I know I didn't, go the regular route, the, going right to college and finishing in 4 years or whatever. But, whatever I did finish, I still took those classes that do still help me to this day, piece of paper or not. I don't know. I feel very fulfilled in, what I've been able to do with that, even if it doesn't look like what everyone else is doing.
I will say this. I think that's the purpose of today's forum, is feeling fulfilled and really just enjoying what you're doing. And I can tell you just by talking today, I know you love what you're doing, and you are on the right path, Miss Jade Marie. And I can't wait to welcome. I can't wait to see where your path takes you. And I hope to see you in LFC as well with your wrestling background. Just keep continuing to apply your craft, brush it up, man. And I hope to see you involved with the product, because I got to say, you as well, we talk about internal and external beauty. You do showcase it. You talk about wishing you had a little bit more curves, but I think you look good. Emphasis on the good. You're welcome. And I think a lot of people can attest to those sentiments. So before we close this out, I'm going to tell you right now, I'd love to have you back on for a round 2. We'll definitely do another one of these.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely want to get into LFC. I put all my stuff in there. I just got to get my new fighter photos done. And then, so just got to wait for something to be scheduled in my area, or however it works.
Yeah, so folks, I will say this. For those who have not seen LFC, you're in for a treat. It's a little bit of MMA, a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of clothing, some of the baddest athletes of all different facets of life killing it as only as they could kill. LFC just had an amazing show back on Valentine's Day, LFC 37. Great bouts featuring the debut of Holly Dunaway, who's a 4-time pro kickboxing champion. Kira Batara come from Bellator and wrestling, doing the damn thing. There's so many great talents that come in, and I hope to see you as one of those talents in the future. Las Vegas, Nevada being the home base of lingerie fighting championships. And I think besides the fact that we have a lot of people fighting and scratching and clawing as we do physically and emotionally, this right here, Miss Jade Marie, is one of the pure examples of what you've gotten to see you do, scratch and claw in the modeling world, and really encompass your overall being. So with that being said, before we close this out, where can we follow you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever we can follow you? Plug the social medias. The floor is yours.
Right. Yes. Thank you. So I don't have Twitter anymore. So now it's primarily just Instagram, jade.marie_model. You do have to type the whole thing in because I'm really shadow banned and I have been for like 2 years. Sometimes you might be able to get away with half of it, but that is my primary page. I do try to have a really healthy separation of business and personal. So I keep my Facebook for like my, personal day-to-day friends. And then I have Instagram for everything else.
Okay. So the Instagram link where you can follow Miss Jade Marie will be in the description of this show. Definitely check her out on Instagram. It's a lot of great photos and a lot of great content, if you will. And before we close this out, do you have any final words to the LFC verse and the overall people that have been supporting you since day one, who've been going through with you for this 8-year journey in the modeling industry? Do you have any final words to the people?
I do. I'm just really excited to be here. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I think just the support that I've gotten from the community, primarily in like the last like three-ish years, I feel like I've had more elevation and growth in my career in the last 3 years than I did in the first 5. And I just can't thank everybody enough for that. And I have such amazing, friends. And I have to shout out my friend Todd Kaler. He is Attack Productions on Instagram, ATAK, and I think Phantasm on Twitter. But he actually got me into wrestling, and he is the biggest supporter. He, was my escort to my shoot with Nick Riley for that wrestling. That was an amazing experience, and I'm so appreciative of the people that support me, and whether we've met in real life or we just chat on Instagram. I've met an amazing amount of people online that are so supportive. I've made real life friends from Instagram, and I can't be more thankful. And I appreciate you giving me, like I said, this opportunity that I can meet more people, and maybe more people will cheer me on in other regards then too.
I think the best way to sum it up, much like with LFC, much like with modeling and everything, as I always say with this show, 2 final things. Life is an art form, and we are here to apply our crafts, and let's continue to apply our crafts in amazing fashion. And as always, with the title of this show, it's not just the name of the show, but it is a mindset, my mindset, if you will. Beauty, strength, and dominance, the 3 key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Jade Marie, I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.